How you doing?
Okay. Hanging in.
I like it better when board meetings 1 week and then TAC is the week after.
Because otherwise I feel like you spend too much time here.
Yeah.
I did find somebody to have lunch with me, so.
Oh, did you? Good. Okay. All right.
Yeah, Anthony is out this week,
Oh.
and so our alternate Ramir
Oh, okay.
took a chance to get him kind of caught up
Oh, good. Okay.
a little bit.
All right.
He's trying to get more plugged into this stuff. Ramir's in our planning and development services group.
Okay.
Since I'm the only planner,
Yeah.
it's not like I have an
right,
alternate.
Right. Yeah. Now you and Anton and Jennifer are in is it Public Works?
Public Works.
Okay. All right. So is Parks in the same group that Ramir's in?
Now Parks is on their own.
All right. Okay.
And they even have like jail stuff in Parks.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like a community service kind
Okay.
of
Mm-hmm.
aspect of it.
All right.
Yeah, which I always thought was a little weird, but
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Do we have 2, 3,
How y'all doing?
good, how are you?
4,
I'm good.
Good.
5?
Am I the quorum?
Who's sitting at the end there, next to
Manager.
Wade? Oh, Taylor. He's the
Yeah.
alternate.
Got it.
3, 4. Is Wendy's voting, right?
Wendy's the voter.
5,
Yeah.
6, 7.
27. We got it.
Okay. Oh, and Brandy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Ramir went over there. I wondered where he was.
Oh, okay.
That's all right. I'll move him over here when he gets back.
This should be a pretty quick meeting, I would think. Should be. Yeah.
If it isn't, there's something wrong.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Let's get this started. Welcome to the March 15th, 2018 Transportation Advisory Committee meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. And let's start with introductions. Victoria.
Victoria Chavez, El Paso County.
Aaron Bustow, Federal Highway Administration.
Wendy Pettit, CDOT Region 2.
Jennifer Valentine, PPACG.
Rick Arfin for Carson.
Darren Horsemeyer, Schriever Air Force Base.
Wade Burkholder, Manitou Springs.
Taylor Gertz, Manitou Springs.
Tim Roberts, City of Colorado Springs.
Brian Vituli, City of Colorado Springs, Mountain Metro Transit. And in the audience, please.
Andy Gunning, Secretary of Council of Governments.
Ken Braylor, BBACG.
Yeah.
Thank you. And,
Jessica Bechtel, PPACG.
all right, good. Thank you. Can we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Approval.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Public comments for items not on the agenda. Andy, would you like to say a few things?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your indulgence. Didn't get a chance to meet everybody yet. Met a bunch of you, but not everyone. Just started here a couple, 3-4 weeks ago now. And I think you guys may have met the first week I was here,
Yeah.
but I got swept off into a meeting on I-25 or something like that. So glad I finally got a chance to meet you guys firsthand. Look forward to working with everybody. For those that don't know, I came here from Rockville, Maryland, back in the Washington, D.C. area, doing mostly local city planning work back there. I was there for about 7 years, most recently as their acting planning director, so dealing with a lot of development and land use and environmental and transportation issues and things like that. Before I was in Maryland, I was in Tucson, Arizona for about 16 years, 12 of which was with the COG and the NPO and the Transportation Authority for the Tucson metro area. So super excited to be back here doing this kind of work, the kind of stuff that you guys are rolling up your sleeves and doing. When I was back in Tucson, I had the good fortune to be there when we created a transportation authority plan that had to go out to the voters for sales tax approval and all that good stuff. And I know all the hard work that goes into that and trying to collaborate with all of our jurisdictional partners and other community partners and the state and everybody else to get an effort like that together and underway. But I know it's making great strides down there. I look forward to doing the same kind of thing, here. My whole approach to how we're going to operate is going to be very collaborative. Internally, we're collaborating on a lot of stuff. We're going to collaborate externally with all of our jurisdictional partners, with the state and the feds and all the other community folks that we work with. So I know that you guys sometimes come in, we're in a slightly different hat than the one that we wear from a regional perspective, and that's fine. We're going to work together professionally and respectfully, and may not always be on the same page, but we'll certainly be able to get there, I'm sure. But really excited to be here. Looking forward to working with you guys. So, any questions or suggestions or do's and don'ts or?
Well, yeah, no, I'm personally glad to hear you say the collaboration part, because that's, 16-member governments in the whole PPACG region and 9 of us or so in the MPO. And, we're a handful. And, but we do like to work together. We work together a lot with each other, and, the MPO is a key part of that. So we'd like to keep that going and try to improve on it. So.
Yeah, good, appreciate that. I went to the farewell event for Dave Munger last night for Kona, and just really seeing the spirit of collaboration that he was able to, embark on throughout the region, not just within the city, but the county and other jurisdictions that Kona works with. And I've seen a lot of that over the past 3.5 weeks that I've been here. So, and I saw that when I was here for the interview process back in November and December. And that's how I've operated throughout my professional career. So that's how we're going to operate and continue to operate. So, looking forward to the collaboration and all the good stuff we can do working together. Okay.
Good.
So if you ever have any questions, suggestions, whatever, feel free to look me up. You probably know how to find me. We'll be going out to all the different jurisdictions, Norm Steen and some of the members of the executive board committee over the month of April and into May to do some site visits and find out, firsthand what's going on in your community and how we can help out and vice versa. So look forward to doing that. But if at any time you have any questions, suggestions, feel free to give me a shout.
Great.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Introduce Ramir.
Oh, Ramir, please introduce yourself.
He's our alternate. You don't get to see him very often, but we're glad he's here.
All right, any other comments from the audience? No? Okay. All right, let's go to item 4, approval of our regular February 15th TAC minutes. Are there any questions with those?
I'd just like to point out I wasn't here, so I won't be voting on that item.
Okay, all right. And Jessica, can we just put an X mark next to Ken's name? Because I think Ken was here for our February TAC meeting. And does everybody who was here see their name checked? All right. Any other comments on these? Could I have a motion to approve the TAC minutes, please, for February 15th?
She's looking at me. I'll move approval.
Is there a second? I'll second it. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item 5, approval of our special meeting on February 22nd.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you.
Hey, Brian, just
Yes.
a note, I wasn't here, Wendy.
You,
It shows that I wasn't here, but, so I'm not voting.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Ken?
I wasn't here, and I don't care about the minutes, but, would you please make sure that the blue light is on your microphone in front as we move forward? We're not picking up the recording without that blue light on.
Okay.
And I will tell you, in the next couple of months, we'll have a new microphone system that hopefully will work better.
Right.
Will the light still be blue?
I'm not sure. We might lose our blue light special.
Okay, item 6, Board of Directors report. That's actually from yesterday's board meeting, right? The March board meeting?
Sure, I can weigh in on this. So Jennifer Valentine, PPACG Transportation Planner. So originally, Ken wasn't going to be able to make it to the meeting, so I got briefed on all of these items, so I am Ken today. So, yeah, Board of Directors, a number of you were at the meeting yesterday, but for those who were not, probably the main transportation-related item was that the board did approve the scoring criteria. In the spirit of trying to keep it relatively brief, the majority of the scoring criteria, we did have a joint recommendation from TAC, CAC, and staff. There were a handful of items where there were varying combinations of different opinions. In all of those, the board did decide to go with the negative scoring scheme to pretty much keep things consistent. So when there was an option to have the +9 to -9, that's where we landed. Any questions about that? Okay. The other items were they approved the TIP Amendment 16, which added the I-25 GAP project to the current TIP. So that was an important one. And then the final one was on the consent agenda, and it was UPWP Amendment 1, and that was just in relation to some rollover funds.
When do we anticipate doing another UPWP amendment? We usually do those once a year or so.
I think it's due this summer.
WP, we have to approve the scope of the work by May.
Okay. So, and then after that, that's when you'll send a request out to all the member governments to provide
Well, I'll send that
items
out.
for that.
We'll send that out in the next couple of weeks, because,
Okay, so it has to be done by May.
Is board approval in May?
pardon?
Is it board approval in May?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have to approve it the first time we see it.
Next month.
No, it can come through the committee twice. But we have to have a scope of work identified to CDOT in May, even if the UPWP is not approved. They need to start the contracting process so that come 1 October, our funds are available. It's what we did last year. I think we had a scope identified based on the committee input and everything that was sent up to CDOT, and it was a month later or so that the board approved the UPWP. And there weren't any changes, so there was no need to change the scope that CDOT had. But they have pushed everything up. If you remember, we used to do, I guess I should follow the rules.
Yeah, please speak into the microphone, Ken.
Ken Prather, PPACG Transportation, speaking into the microphone. CDOT started the process last year. We advanced the UPWP effort because it used to be about August when we were approving it, and then CDOT would not get the UPWP and the contract for the planning funds approved until December. That was 3 months after the federal year started, and so we were operating on whatever cash reserve we had. Well, guess what happened one year when we had no cash reserve? So CDOT has started the process. They've moved it forward where they start their contracting development in May or June to have it ready and approved by 1 October. That's with everybody's signatures. So that means that we will be starting the UPWP. What are your planning efforts for the coming year, fiscal year 19, which will be October 1 through September of next year? And so we'll be asking for that. We'll send out the information, start developing what are the priorities that we want to do as MPO in that next year, and start that process.
Okay. So, just so we know what's coming down, so you're going to send out the request in a couple weeks.
Right.
We should probably start thinking about what we want to submit as part of that.
Yes,
But
please.
for April, though, are we going to see it as an action item for us at the April TAC meeting?
Probably not.
Okay, all right. So we'll have a little bit of time to
Yeah.
get that back to you.
But
Okay.
as they-
But we'd approve it then after the board. If you have it approved by the board in May?
CDOT needs a scope
Oh,
of work.
okay.
They're willing to work on a draft scope, praying that the board will not change it during final approval after they've started the contracting process.
Okay.
It's how we did it last year, is how most of the MPOs in the state did it last year. And all of the contracts were done by 1 October. Everybody was ready to go. It worked beautifully.
Yeah.
So we will start the discussion in April, and we'll send out an email in a week or two to say, think about it and come, and we'll have it on the agenda next month, but it'll be definitely a discussion item, not an action.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you.
So, Brian, if I may, back to the scoring criteria for a second, I failed to mention that we are planning to mail out the now final board-approved, probably the whole set of that flow chart with the goals, objectives, targets, now the scoring criteria to complete that. So you all have that for your reference. And so you can begin thinking about the projects you'll want to be submitting when we do the call for projects this summer. So look for those.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else from the board meeting? All right, thank you. Our only action item, recommendation of the fiscal year 2019 to 2022 TIP. Jennifer. Okay.
Jennifer Valentine, Transportation Planner with PPACG. So, as you see in your memo, what we're requesting here is recommendation of the TIP as a whole, but I just want to point out a couple of discussion-worthy things, because overall, the reason that your packet this month had any weight to it at all was because of the 50 or 60-page TIP document, but fortunately nothing in that document has changed. We just have a couple things on the spreadsheet, and then the list of public comments that we received. So the first thing I want to point out was in your packet. It's not something that's happened since you received your packet, but so it's the change in the Fountain Creek Regional Trail Extension Project. Originally, that project was slated to begin in 2019. There was some sort of accounting error in the spreadsheet that made it look like there were TAP funds in 2019 to begin the project, when that was actually not the case. The total amount of funding available wasn't affected, but to keep the plan fiscally constrained and keep all the years in line, it was necessary to move the start date of that project to 2020. And I don't know if you printed out your materials in color. That section was highlighted in the spreadsheet in blue in attachment 4. I know Kevin reached out to Brandy. Did you ever touch base?
That's fine.
It is fine. Okay. So the other piece, and this is something that's happened just in the past few days, we did receive some additional information from MMT about transit projects. So there wasn't any change in the amount of funding or years or anything like that. Before, there was sort of a placeholder, if you will, just a general pool of money, and now we have descriptions about specific projects. Is that pretty accurate?
Yes.
Okay. I believe those are the two main things I wanted to point out. Did anyone come across questions as they went through the materials?
Any questions? No?
I'm just letting her know that those attachments are all up there if you want.
Okay. Not unless anyone wants to see them.
All right, and how does, all the comments are on one page. I mean,
Correct.
That's pretty typical, I guess, for the TIP.
Right, and a couple of them were sort of more internal comments, one about MMT, I think one was from CDOT. The others were just interesting things people would like to see happen in our region sometime in the future that didn't affect the TIP itself.
Although I am pretty interested in a gondola, so we may have to look into that.
I can put you in contact with the person who made the comment. So.
Well, there are FTA funds for gondolas because it is a mass transit eligible item. They do it in Telluride, so yeah,
Okay.
could happen.
The only other thing I would say is, so with the language for the TIP amendment with the GAP project, we are covered. The language in our TIP is general enough so that it can accommodate a general purpose lane or a tolled lane, 1 lane, 2 lanes. So that was kind of on purpose. So we're still fine there.
I did notice we had a couple comments on Charter Oak Ranch Road. I'm betting they were from some of your colleagues at the base who are very interested in getting that project going, so glad to have that input from our military partners.
All right. Any other questions for Jennifer? Wendy?
I just have a comment. Just due to the crashing of the computer system, we had hoped to have some initial conversation about the roll forwards, but until I can get a report out of the computer system to do that, that's accurate and shows what really has happened over the last couple of months, we're going to wait to have that conversation until we have some accurate information, and then we'll bring it forward as a administrative amendment, just like we always do. And since you're waiting on me, I will make sure that we have concurrence on the projects, and then I will finish it up and have it all done so that you all don't have to worry about the fire drill to get it done. Okay?
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yeah, thank you. So I have a question. I think it's related to what you're saying, Wendy, but also to you, Jennifer. So there are an awful lot of projects that have, well, you know, they may have had funding in 17 or 18 that just kind of dropped off of this tip because this is 19 through 2022.
Right.
So is that what you're talking about
Yes,
when the?
exactly.
Okay.
Because what they have now is what they're showing as fiscally constrained for the years of 19 to 22. The money that we roll forward does not count in that 19 to 22 timeframe. It's in the previous tip.
Okay. All right.
Right, so Wendy actually addressed what was supposed to be item 8, which is totally fine. We'll knock it all out in one. But I think that item was intended to serve as just a reminder if you have projects that have been sitting dormant for a little while, to try and get those moving or show progress on them, or let us know if there's a known delay.
All right. Ken?
You probably noticed that there were a bunch of, or many, projects that are listed in the tip that have $0 in all years. That's because they had money, they had project in 2018, and until we get the rollover money, we didn't want to erase all of the projects and then have to retype to re-enter them. So all we did was hide the column. And as soon as we get the rollover amounts, if there is no rollover and the project is actually completed and closed, then we'll delete the rows and get rid of all of the zeros. Otherwise, there will be money shown in a rollover and then no future money until that rollover money is gone.
Okay.
So that's why you see a bunch of zeros in there on some projects.
Thanks. And Wendy, you said that you'll do one joint administrative request for all the rollover dollars to come into the proper years, or the.
As soon as I know what the projects are, I will notify, I will send an email out to Ken, and I will have Ken forward it on to everybody, and then you'll need to make a reply back to me that you are in agreement with
Okay.
what we're showing, okay?
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
And then once I have that agreement from you, I will make the administrative amendment to roll it all forward.
Okay. Rather than all of us doing our own
Correct.
separate requests. Okay. That's great. Thank you. All right. Okay. Any other questions for this item? Would someone like to make a motion to recommend approval of TIP amendment, or TIP 2019 through 2022?
I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you. Thanks, Jennifer.
Okay, so Wendy, was there anything else on this information item other than just kind of the reminder about the dormant projects?
You mean as far as the project delays?
Mm-hmm.
So, yes. From what I can tell, it looks like, we had our timeout when we made our reorganization to be able to put the money in the right years, to be able to put the design money and the construction money in the years we needed to, and to balance all of the tip and stip stuff out 3 years ago now. So the first year, everybody got a timeout because we had to move those things around. There's still money that is in the tip now that's older than 2 years old now, that'll be going into its third year. So you'll be hitting the tip delay policy from PPACG once I send all that forward. So as soon as I have a report, I will make sure that those projects that have that type of issue with them identified, I'll send it to Ken identified, so that way, when it goes to you, you can do some checking on it so that we can figure out what we need to do, if we're budgeting, or what the reason is why we're still delayed and the project hasn't moved forward. That way, you have a heads up on what the issue is, where the projects are at in the scheme of things. So that way, you don't have a surprise when it comes out. Okay?
Okay.
There's a few of them, I don't know what, I know one of them, for instance, is the roundabout, because it needed more money, and we just awarded it more money, so if you couldn't go to add because you didn't have the money, then, and you're ready to do it now, then that takes that off of the hit list, but we need to have those explanations.
Okay.
No excuse now.
That's how I-
Except he has to wait for the year the money was.
That was the problem.
Yeah. All right, so is that it for item 8A then? Okay. All right. Item 8B, member entity announcements. Is there anything anybody would like to share?
I'd like to make a friendly reminder that we have about 1 week left on our transportation needs survey. So there should be a stack of postcards on the table when you first came in. So sorry, I know everyone's tired of hearing about this, but 1 week left, final push. So please help us. If you haven't taken it, please take it. Take some postcards, leave them in your offices. We'd really appreciate it.
Have you had a lot of participation yet?
We are nearing 500 responses, which is more than we received about our goals survey, but it's still less than we'd like. So,
It's quite impressive.
yeah.
Anything anybody else would like to say? All right. So question just came to mind about the tip. Are we still in the public comment period? We're still in that 30-day window from when the board released that, so there could be a few more comments that come in before the board approves it next month?
Yes, the comment period, I think, goes until the 19th.
Okay. So we're close, yeah.
And, we've always been flexible. If somebody submits a comment after that period, because you can comment at the board meeting.
Right.
Somebody could. So this will go to CAC for the 28th. And, yeah, so we could still
Sure.
take
Yeah, okay, thanks.
more comments. If we get any, obviously if they impact a project, then we'll let the project sponsor know, so there's, how we're going to address that comment.
Okay, yeah, all right, thank you. All right, 8C, items for future TAC meetings.
UPWP?
Somebody said they wanted UPWP.
We'll be ready.
Sounds like we'll have a tip amendment when CDOT is back up and running.
Roll forwards.
Uh-huh. And does the CAC start the waiting process this month?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So they will be discussing something their next CAC meeting? Is there anything that will be presented to us?
They will make their recommendation at this meeting to the board for approval in April. And according to our schedule, that's the day that the board is supposed to approve the call for projects.
So at the April meeting, will we be seeing the waiting summary?
Yeah, once we get the waiting, the board approves that, we'll send that out along with, the final databases and maps and things like that we showed at the one TAC meeting on what we'll be using, what you can use to score your own projects and decide which ones you want to submit. And we'll get all that information out to you. We don't have an application package made yet, so, but it shouldn't be too hard because most of the questions, it's, what's your IRI? So it's just write down the IRI. What's your sufficiency rating on the bridge? It shouldn't be very lengthy.
So the CAC will actually be doing the weighting and then recommending approval of it at their March meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yesterday afternoon, I sent out what the board approved, and the multi-criteria analysis spreadsheet that we've used in the past, where they rank, or they prioritize the criteria using two methodologies. One is the straight ranking, one between 1 and 12, 12 being the most important, 1 being the least important, and the other is you've got 100 points. How do you distribute those 100 points to all of the criteria? Each criteria has to have at least 1 point. And then there's a magic spreadsheet that will combine all of the CAC members' priorities together, average the two methodologies together, and come up with the criteria. It's what we've used in the past.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
When do we get to see the draft application?
As soon as we get it developed.
Hopefully before the call.
Yes.
Do you expect major changes from the past applications?
It should be shorter. There's only 12 criteria instead of 13. And most of them, the answer is a single number. What is your maintenance rating? What is your, safety? You just have to give us a location because we're going to calculate what the level of service safety is and the safety reduction factor. So other than the typical, what is your project? Where is it? And asking for the details of what your project is. It's not just intersection improvements. What intersection improvements? Longer turn bays, additional turn bays, introduce a turn bay, that type of thing. So,
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right. Any other items for next month's TAC meeting? Okay. Any other thing? Anything that anybody else would like to talk about?
I think you have a new record.
Yeah, this is pretty good. All right. Anybody opposed to adjourning? All right. Thank you all. Have a good month.
Well, it's fast.
Yeah.
Where you want to go?
That's your personal card? You don't have a city card, do you?
I do. But I don't like driving it up here because I don't want to get yelled at for having a fountain car up here. So I don't even know what I did today. Well, so I went to the Broadmoor before this, so I don't want to take my fountain car to the Broadmoor. So most of the time, anytime I could use a city car,
Well, you don't have any.
I have somewhere else to go that's not city related, and then people just get angry. I am not late. What time am I supposed to be here if I'm not late?
Everybody went around and introduced themselves.
I had to go to the bathroom.
Excuse me, sorry.
Tea.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of where I want to go so I don't smell ridiculous.
It's your big town.
No, I'm trying to think. We could go over to the coffee shop over here and just sit outside. Then I won't smell like coffee.
Cool. You want to smell like coffee?
No,
Why?
because I just want to smell like me for one day. We went to lunch yesterday after the PPACG meeting and I smelled like that place.
Cool.
So yeah, we can go over there.
How far is it?
It's like 2 blocks.
Can you drive your car? Because I don't want to have my City of Woodland Park car there. I'm sure I
Oh,
was
no, that's fine.
speeding today. I think I'm going to get in trouble.
I mean, well, can't read the legends like that. It seems like
She's got a red face.
Did you get a speeding ticket?
No, but lots of people were
You're fine.
passing
Were you late?
fast. Oh, I'll tell you all about what I was doing
Alrighty.
before the meeting. You'll laugh.
Alright. I'm gonna go tell Victoria I'm taking her out to lunch so she can explain all this crap and then.
Darn, that's what I wanted you to do. Well, you could do that after you left.
Right.
Nice.
Then you can take me out to lunch.
Nice.
So on page 10, and this was kind of reflected in our, that was one of the, okay, so we have a few different draft forms finalizing. Well, we went over some of the recommendations we had in
Hello,
this.
Wendy.
And this financial plan, so it mentioned, got to include the financial plan, or something. Strengths, so, is there going to be more of a financial plan in the end, or is it just appendix D? Currently appendix D just has funding source.
No problem.
It doesn't have the whole, as it shows, appendix 2, financial plan showing that there would be sufficient funds to implement those improvements to operate and maintain those. We have revenue back on it. And that's not there. Now, I don't know if you're linking it back to the plan you currently have, which does a decent job, but then there's no linkage language here that says, the more specific laid out in our original plan. You know, they have those tables and charts. Benjamin, how you doing? So, I'm not going to easy segue to it. See y'all later. So you have, I mean, you don't use your revenue, you're just talking about the funding